The essence of Raja Yoga. Great men are not born accidentally. They are born when the world waits for them in eager expectation. Such is the phenomenon of nature. At the time when spirituality was tottering helplessly and the solid materialism has usurped the position of spiritualism in human life and yogic transmission has become quite obsolete, the great soul of my master descended down to earth in the form of Samarth Guru Mahatma Ramchandraji Maharaj of Fatehgarh, UP. This spiritual genius was born on Basant Panchami, 2nd February 1873. His life marks the advent of a new era in spirituality. He was in fact the nature's prodigy, and his work in the spiritual field is beyond common conception. He has practically modified the system of Raj Yoga so as to suit the needs of the time and the capacity of the people in general. He has made wonderful researches in this science and has made human approach up to the farthest limit possible and practicable for a man in the least possible time. He was completely dynamic, so much so that even people not following him got transformed by the action of the effect radiating from him all the while. There have been great saints of highest caliber in India almost at all time, and they have by their teachings and preachings tried to guide through to uplift the masses to a higher level of consciousness. But of all these, one who can foment us by his own inner powers would be the best for a guide in spiritual pursuit. It is he and he alone who perceives our inner complexities, understands our real needs, and knows how to conduct us along the path up to the final limit. Pranahuti or yogic transmission is, of course, the chief instrument he works with. That is the only effective process to introduce immediate change, to regularize the inner tendencies of our mind so as to effect our gradual transformation. Under the present conditions, when the poisonous effect has overshadowed the entire cosmos so as to attack every mind and keep it in a constant state of tumult and disorder, when the senses have all gone out of control, and when the individual mind is on the wings every moment, we stand in dire need of such a personality to take us along, supporting us by his superior powers. I'll take a pause here. I'll proceed. This is what we had in the divine personality of the great master referred to above. He introduced an improved system of Raj Yoga, which later came to be known as Sahaj Marg. The system now followed in the mission presents an easy and natural path for the attainment of the ultimate. The greatest impediment in the path is the unregulated action of the senses, which have gone out of control. For this, the method of suppression or strangulation hitherto advised under older systems are not of much avail. Really, it is not suppression or strangulation that solves our difficulties, but the proper regulation of their actions. The Sahaj Marg does not advise those cruder methods which are hardly practicable in the routine life of man. Under the Sahaj Mark system of spiritual training, the action of senses is regulated in a natural way so as to bring them to their original state. That is just as it was when we assumed the human form for the first time. Not only this, but the lower vrittis, which are working independently, are subjected to the control of higher centers of superconsciousness. Hence, the power's action is stopped, and the higher centers, in their turn, come under the charge of the divine centers, and in this way, the whole system begins to get divinized. Further, the five vikaras, that is, impediments, known as kama, krodha, lobha, moha, and ahankara, so commonly talked about in the religious books, so common as talked about in the religious books as serious obstruction in a man's path, are also greatly misunderstood. Of these, the first two, kama and krodha, came to us from God, while the next two, lobha and moha, are our own creation. We cannot give up what comes to us from God, but only modify them so as to bring them to proper regulation required for the divine living. I may make it clear to you that if kama is somehow destroyed in toto, the intelligence will vanish altogether because it is closely connected with the intelligence center. If krodha is destroyed, a man will not be able to proceed either towards God or towards the world. Really, it is only krodha that excites action, which is thus a necessary requirement of an embodied soul. Similar is the case with ahankar or egoism. Generally, the word I, used for the self, is identified with the body, though at the same time it points out the fact that the living force in him, that is, soul or spirit, as one may call it, is really at work behind the screen. If somehow one is relieved of the idea of body or the soul, even, he gets closest to that one craves for. None of these is in itself bad or harmful. It is only we ourselves who have, by our wrong use of them, turned them into impediments in our march towards the divine. In their pure state, they immensely help in every walk of life, whether worldly or spiritual. It is not therefore for us to condemn or crush them, but to purify them so as to regularize the action. Take a pause.
Any questions so far?
But just one thing, sir, when he says uh, really it is only Krodha that excites actions, which is thus necessary requirement of embodied soul. So can you expand on that?
అంటే క్రోధ అంటే నాట్ ది egoistic anger which generally we when we use the word krodha, the general idea we have is when anything goes wrong we shout at people, or when somebody hurts our ego we shout and then we pick up wars and fights. That is not the idea which he's talking. Krodha is the basic power. Actually, it's krodha is just something like a friction. Like suppose you're walking on a ground and you put some foam on the ground, you cannot walk. Or you put oil on the ground, on your floor, you try to walk, you will fall, because there's no friction for you to move ahead.
Right.
So there's a friction required for movement actually. So suppose oil is removed and then there's a rough surface, you'll have a grip on the floor and you can move forward. If oil is there, there's no friction, you cannot
Right.
move ahead. So Krodha is something like that friction force which helps us to move ahead. Like suppose Babuji says, I am a simpleton, I am a simple person. If I could regulate my mind, all of you can regulate your mind. Just like saying that I can say I know how to drive a car. If I could drive a car, you can also drive a car. So ego is the force, or the Krodha is the force which will make you learn to drive a car or learn to swim or learn to code anything. The energy or the friction force which causes us to achieve anything material or spiritual is that Krodha or the friction, which is the basic energy given to us by birth actually. So in that sense, you have to take Krodha, not
Okay.
cruder view of ego related anger and all that.
Right.
So if many people have achieved realization, they could know the true nature of their soul. There are hundreds of people who have realized God in the history. Even now there are so many realized people. So if they can do it, I can also do it. So this feeling that I can do it is powered by this Krodha actually. Like Bhagavad Gita, it says, Uddaret Atmanam Avasadayet. That means with your own efforts, you have to develop your mind so that you will develop friendship with this self or God inside you. The lower self is there. Lower self has to be lifted by your own efforts. That effort is possible because of the Krodha.
Okay.
Without Krodha, that effort is not possible. That is the idea actually.
So in other terms, like it's kind of self-motivating force.
No, the basic force, the friction is provided with you. That is, karma is a passion to achieve anything. Karma cannot function without the element of Krodha also.
Okay.
It's a kind of an ego, but useful ego, which will help us move ahead.
Right.
Sir, elsewhere, Babuji Maharaj also writes that anger is basically because of the refractory temperament ani antaru.
Adi different context lo, but when using this karma and krodha ante, it is much more basic this thing. It is given by God. That is a different, that is concerned with the mind actually. This is also concerned with the mind at a much more subtler and much more basic level. Without this kind of a krodha, you cannot achieve anything in this world. Suppose I want to, now I see some surgeon somewhere in America or South, they have done some complex operation. I watched the operation. I have feeling that I can also do it. I can also attempt and do it. So the possibility of my achieving success, accomplishing that task which was done by other, is happening because of krodha. If krodha is not there, I cannot do that. So to do anything spiritual or materialistic also, you should have both kama and krodha, which have been crudely commented upon as if it is raga dvesha. It is not so. People, kama means desire and dvesha means hatred. So it has been interpreted traditionally like that. But Babuji's idea, Sir had brilliantly spoken about this long back. Whatever I'm talking is of my understanding, which I developed with interaction with Sir only. He gave me this idea of friction actually, to explain to me. Okay. Traditionally, they said you have to remove all these 5 things. These are 5 obstacles you have to remove. So if you take raga dvesha as kama and krodha, then it is okay. But Babuji's idea is that what is given by God, which is kama and krodha, you cannot remove it. You can only moderate it. And once you moderate it, then your psyche will become unified and it will become, it will be in harmony with everything in the world. I mean, you will be plain and simple to be in tune with nature. So that is, you achieve harmony with everything. So that is called yoga. Yoga is you link your human consciousness with divine consciousness. That is only possible when all these faculties, Manasu, Buddhi, Ahankara, and Chitta, they are all they're very useful for our day-to-day activities. And if they're trained to achieve their original status of health, then only when they reach their original status of health, then only you can achieve harmony with the universal consciousness. Otherwise, you're not in harmony with God actually. So you're not in yoga. You are doing a process of yoga. You're following a process which leads to yoga actually. So most of us are in the process only. Okay.
Just one follow-up question on this.
Uh,
It says that similar is the case with ahankara or egoism.
uh,
So, is it talking about the egoism which excites that anger to?
Egoism is the idea which I gave about Krodha is we had a lot. I'm giving my understanding after discussion with Sir. Actually, I'm actually repeating what Sir has told me to you. But that ahankara is the feeling feeling that you are separate from God. So, but that also can be purified, and to such an extent when it becomes purified, what happens? Your ahankara will be there as long as you're in the physical body. That is true. If it is gone, you cannot survive in the physical body. So even if you become an instrument of God, minimum amount of this thing will very small amount will be there, and there you'll have a very faint awareness that you are an instrument of God. To that extent, ahankara can be purified. But kama and krodha cannot be eliminated, but ahankara can be eliminated. Ahankara, the other two, what is called moha and what is that? Fifth one?
Lobha.
Lobha. Lobha is greed.
Lobha.
Moha is attachment. Attachment you can totally, you can get rid of attachment with your body, with your notions. You have so many notions about your attachment to political philosophies, communism or capitalism or socialism, or you have so many notions that health will be like this, surgery is good or medicine is good or conservative treatment. All those notions all of us have as doctors. So all those notions, attachment to our particular notions, we can get rid of totally, 100%. And that is the one of the chief purpose why we do yoga is to get rid of, become detached with all our prejudices or notions actually. But kama and krodha you cannot eliminate, but you can modify it so that your mind will be in harmony with God.
Correct. And ego can be made subtlest to the
Ego
level.
can be purified to such an extent that it's very difficult to understand whether it is your ego or God's ego. I mean, the distinction almost disappears. You don't know, but things happen. You can call it God's will or your will. I mean, words will fail after some time there.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'll proceed, I guess.
You proceed.
All these changes in a man's being are brought about under the Sahajmark system in a most natural way through the process of transmission, that is pranahuti. In fact, under this system, the regulation of the mind is the job of the master and not of the abhyasi himself. When the individual mind is brought to the state of the cosmic mind, the manas assumes its real form and begins to give proper guidance. Man is a bipolar being. It has got its root nearest to the base and the other end towards the world. If somehow the individual mind gets molded towards the cosmic mind, it begins to appear in its true colors. As a matter of fact, the human mind is a reflection of the Shobh, which set into motion the forces of nature to bring into existence the creation. The action started in a clockwise motion. That is why we see everything round in nature. The individual mind is thus a part of the godly mind, Shobha. If somehow we turn its downward trend towards the base, it will become quite calm and peaceful. But so far as my personal experience goes, I find that it is only the help of one of dynamic personality that can turn it towards the base. It is only the power and the will of such a personality that marks in this respect. As for the highest human approach, I may say that if by God's grace one gets into the central region after crossing all the rings of splendor, the very atoms of the body begin to turn into energy and then further on to its ultimate. It cannot, however, be achieved by mere abhyas and self-effort. At higher levels, the conditions are such that even if one ascends a little by self-effort, he he quickly slips down because of the strong push from above. So for our entry into higher regions, the master's help is indispensable. This is in brief about Sahaj Marg and what it presents to the world. Everyone is quite welcome to try and have a practical experience of it.
Allow this to sink into us. It should sink into your deepest unconscious or into your bones actually. Then only the mind will be transformed. Then only purity will. There's one article called Surrender. I will just send the pictures to you, you can put it. So I'm reading it. In this era, the mind has become so restive and fickle that it is difficult to find a parallel. Some have problems finding a job, and others have increased their requirements to such an extent that their meager earnings are insufficient. If we take the examples of those with money, God has given them everything, but even then there is no contentment. The worry is only how to add to it. Okay, maybe it is not this. So then what is the worry? The reason, medium, and instruments by which the wealth has been earned should remain as is. So the person keeps himself occupied in surveillance of the same and always remains in a dilemma and full of uncertainty. To be exact, he is not at ease. I'll just read again the earlier sentence because I didn't grasp it. God has given them everything, but even then there is no contentment. The worry is only how to add to it. Okay, maybe it is not this. So then what is the worry? The reason, medium, and instruments by which the wealth has been earned should remain as is. So the person keeps himself occupied in surveillance of the same. Surveillance is reason, medium, and instruments. And always remains in a dilemma and full of uncertainty. To be exact, he is not at ease. A businessman in America was questioned as to how much money he had, and he said around $1.6 billion. If the money he had were to be thrown into the sea at the rate of 1 unit per second, it would have taken 52 years and 181 days. Listening to this, he was asked if he is happy with his present fortune. In fact, the fellow who sleeps on a stone pillow after a hard day's work is happier. Next page. The crux of the matter is to what extent it should be elaborated. Someone is worried on account of his children and another because of his health. Everyone is engrossed in their lives. What should I write besides the fact that this is a paradox? The best condition is that which keeps you happy and contented. So he says the best condition is that which keeps you happy and contented. All great saints and souls have given priority to adversity and hard work. One mendicant prayed, "O God, give me all the sufferings of the world." These are the souls who have reached the apogee of progress, entered the sphere of permanent joy, and become immortal. Now the circumstances we have developed float in the universe, and having reached there, acquire a strength that strikes everyone's heart. The effect that is created is proportional to one's capabilities. If the condition is used to develop a state of non-attention to the above matters and to make this into a perpetual habit, then for sure we are free of these matters to a large extent. That means treating them like lawn environment, because many of the thoughts could be emanating from our samskaras, because if the vacuum is there, samskaras will come up for bhog. They'll in the form of thoughts and feelings and actions actually. But some of the thoughts which enter into your mind from the environment of people who are around you, their thinking goes into the cosmos, and then from the cosmos they enter into your mind. But if you develop the skill of meditation, of treating all these thoughts as uninvited guests, and being aware of the thought that any thought which is come to your conscious mind is an impurity being thrown out by the divine core inside you, then they'll stop bothering us. That's the idea he's trying to say. Gulame himmate anam ki zere charkhe kabul, cherche rang taluk, pinjarde aj ost. It's a Persian, I think. I live under the blue sky and reflect whatever color it assumes. A mendicant or saint is no different than us. The only difference is that his heart is contented and his desires are under his command. Next page. His nature does not flow in the current of worldly colors. He has his own sort of color, and he ultimately adapts himself into a state of colorlessness. This results in detachment, which gives him ease and peace of the highest order. How is this possible? The answer in brief is that he is never free from his own restlessness and yearning. This is interesting. He says the answer in brief is that he is never free from his own restlessness and yearning. I have been experiencing this condition. The joy is known only to my heart. Please understand this paradox of joy and agony. God willing, the joy and agony of this sort, the very soul of love, will be bestowed upon everyone. If this philosophy is explained, page after page will be filled. The pleasure of wheat is in its eating. So here is throwing a bait to us. He is asking us to really eat the wheat and then enjoy it ourselves. He is asking us to enjoy that yearning and restlessness, which he says is very difficult to describe into joy. He is asking us to experiment on his idea actually. Let me come to the point. It is everyone's solemn duty to care for his livelihood, and nothing is wrong in praying if patience runs out. We should approach God in all humility and pray. He can do everything, and he will. when it is needed. In such situations, prayers will be granted. We are all dependent on his wish and order. Without his consent, even a leaf of a tree cannot move. Great saints have left everything to his wish. Their every belonging has been surrendered at his altar. This itself is called self-surrender. We cannot even see him without his wish. We are meek and he is the Almighty. You mentioned that you are not able to read the condition. The answer is, this depends mostly on practice. Many people judge the nature and condition of a person as soon as he comes before them, and they assess what sort of a personality he is based on their experience, affection, and association. With perseverance, you start experiencing. Even otherwise, you can certainly feel things that cannot be translated into words. This we know when we meet certain abhyasis, when we meet some people, we know that that person is not open to us. He's hiding something. We are also not comfortable. His body language and all will know that he wants to avoid us or he wants to hide something from us. All of us experience that. We know, but we are not practiced or learned to develop that skill actually. This is a kind of a, in neuroscience, it's called prosody, or I mean, like there's a right brain activity. Like suppose I wish you, I say good morning. So, and I look into your eyes and really with an intention to feel goodwill towards you. And with that idea, if I wish, you will sense it actually. So that capacity all of us have, we have not cultivated that capacity, that's all. Anyway, I'll read ahead. It is good thought that you surrender yourself to the master. You mention in your letter that to understand can at times become the reason for ego. I would not call it understanding if it culminates in ego. If your ideal is high, you will realize that all these are matters of the journey. Besides, if there is any condition and joy thereof, they should be taken as gifts from the master. And if they are gifts from master, how can ego surface? The rest of you ask and know when we meet in person. This is all due to the grace of our elders, which you experienced during Janmashtami. This grace shall pave the way for everyone who observed this fast. If this is remembered at the time of death, this grace will have reserved their place. Otherwise, whoever takes my place or those people who become like me will have this responsibility after me. So, people who practice seriously or who attend the bandaras and then try to remain in the thought of the master, there are like certain wisdoms open up in them. Intuition, like an intuition, it comes. And if you are careless there, the ego can develop and you want to immediately tell that to others so that, you know, your greatness will be impressed upon the others. But it's a caution here. If you take it as a gift from master, ego will not develop. So actually it is a gift because it's an intuition. It is coming from God to you directly. It's not due to your reasoning or not due to your hard work or not due to your grappling with philosophical issues that intuition has come to you. I mean, it is coming as a grace of God. Unless you keep that in mind, you can fall a trap to ego actually. Anyway, with this, we end this talk of the master. Anybody wants to share anything? Forum is open for discussion.
See, here is mentioning two types of paradox, right? First one is in terms of man wants to keep on earning and protecting and those things. And
No,
that is where he is not happy, right? Not
no,
contented.
no. The elsewhere in one of the showers of divine grace, he writes, no, everything, the moment you're born into contradictions, no?
Yes.
So everything is a paradox and a contradiction, like the paradox between hope and fear of death. All of us know that we are going to die one day. So this hard work and then earning so much of money and then earning so much of name and fame and trying to, live in an illusory world is nothing. We rational thinking, we'll know that. But then you have a very powerful feeling that tomorrow life will be hunky-dory, everything will be beautiful, all your problems. That's a contradiction. So several contradictions are there. Throughout our life, you examine our experiences, whatever desires we had, even after fulfilling our desires, we are still discontented. We want other experience, or we want to earn more money, or we want to earn praise from so many more people. There are some people who might recognize your, professional competence or recognize you as a good human being, but you want more certificates from more people. Still, you're discontented. That is again a paradox. Even after desire getting fulfilled, you're not unhappy. So life is full of contradictions and paradoxes. So we are this can be called a suffering. The life itself is, if you are not aware of God, is the mother of all suffering. So only in yoga, whereby you get linked with God and your mind comes into harmony. First of all, most of our psyche is fractured actually. The psyche, if you take your feeling faculty, your understanding faculty, and your will is there, all these three faculties are not in harmony. Like your mood will be, you'll be bad, you'll be depressed, sometimes you'll be very angry, or sometimes you'll be happy. Sometimes your understanding, you feel that you're a surgeon, you've got more skill in saving lives of people, so you're better than a physician or better than an engineer, whatever. So you develop pride because of your understanding. So will is there, you want to do meditation for 2 days non-stop, but then your will is not cooperating with your desire to meditate and be in the thought of the master. So all the three faculties are fractured actually. So and when initially we try to see that we get harmonious. That's why when we give meditation also, and a trainer also, when he gives a meditation, we first of all think that the mind, that is the understanding and the feeling faculty, are getting united. And when they get united, you get into harmony with yourself. Then we pray to God. Then if these three faculties are united, then you do meditation. Then real transformation starts happening. And then finally you form a link with God. And then whatever is there in the God will enter into your mind and you come into harmony. Once you get into harmony, this contradiction disappears. Then only you'll be feeling contented and happy always. Otherwise, you have to agree to Buddha's first noble truth, that suffering is a noble truth. I mean, right from beginning, problems ही problems है ना. चलने में प्रॉब्लम है, फिर पढ़ाई करना, पढ़ाई में फिर नंबर आना, नंबर ठीक नहीं है तो माता पिता जी उसको मारेंगे, डंडा मारेंगे, टीचर पनिशमेंट देगा, फिर पास होना, फिर उसमें कॉलेज में पढ़ना, फिर नौकरी, फिर एवरीवेयर यू, एंड इन बिटवीन अभी हैदराबाद में सफरिंग इज ड्यू टू 45 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड, गर्मी हो रहा है, हीट स्ट्रोक हो गया है. I mean, it doesn't leave you free at all, the life. So it's not so pleasant. So only way out of this contradiction is yoga, where you unite your consciousness with the divine consciousness. Otherwise, temporarily you may be in a favorable circumstances, you feel that you are in control of things, but actually nobody is in control of things.
During the Bhandaras also, sir, we were talking about this endless chain of desires. So Master has given point B meditation as a very effective meditation to get rid of desires.
No, if you do with that particular intention, वो intention क्यों है? Because with desires you cannot merge in God. Union, yoga बोले तो क्या है? Union of human consciousness, divine consciousness. Divine consciousness merge हुआ तो the heart should be pure. It should be free from desire. Is a vritti. It's an impurity. It's just like poison in your system. How can with poison? How can you merge that? So your goal should be to merge in God. So to merge in God, these desires are obstructions. So वो करने के लिए with that intention if you do, then only it will work. Otherwise, how will it work? Your goal is not clear, it will not work.
Right.
Otherwise, so many saints would have be existing in our midst by now, no? Because desire clear हो गया समझो. Problem ही क्या है? I mean, you are liberated. Mind you, every thought is a desire. You don't know that. If you read carefully Babuji's ways and means, you will understand. Every thought is a desire and a judgment. Thinking कि भाई मेरे को गाड़ी खरीदना है, मिनिस्टर बनना है, वही डिजायर्स नहीं है. Or I want to get married to several beautiful women or men or whatever. वो डिजायर्स नहीं है. There everything. ये गर्मी कम हो जाना, बारिश आना इमीडिएटली, और मेरा फेवरेट आदमी है इलेक्शन में जीत जाना, वो दुश्मन वो हार जाना, वो रिलीजन पीपल वो ये कर रहे, they should be punished by nature or God. All these thoughts are desires. Every thought is a kind of a desire. If you closely observe yourself,
True. That is there.
you are never free from desires any moment, mind you. I'm not saying this is not my word, it is Babuji's words. If you read Ways and Means of third chapter, Reality at Dawn, का पढ़े तो पता लगेगा. The moment you pick up a WhatsApp and read any of the message, it will kick in, you will create a world of desires. So you should follow Babuji's fourth commandment. You keep on reducing activities and do any activity as a dedication without the motive of the result. Then only you are in tune with God. I mean, Nishkama Karma, you have to practice. So you can judge for yourself how easy or how hard it is. Anybody else wants to contribute to this discussion?
So the thoughts that relate to your work, I mean, sometimes you think like, how do you solve a problem? How do you design something?
That is part of the duty only. That is duty only. If you take it as a command of the God and then you dedicate that work, it is nobody can be free from duty, because a person is born in a society. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna ఏమంటాడంటే, as long as you're alive, you have to do. People think that they've resigned from the job, you can sit quiet. Mind is churning thoughts. So you're doing churning thoughts is also a duty you're doing. He describes just like a huge machinery is running in a big factory, and one fly sits on one of the machine, it moves along with the machine. In the same way, even if you sit quiet, you are part of the cosmic machinery. You will be doing some work. So nobody can escape work as long as he is alive. So since you cannot escape duty, if duty is done with a selfish motive, then you are not getting into harmony with God. Then that leads to karma. Then you have to take birth again and then suffer. But you would take the duty, if you're doing the duty without expecting the result and dedicating it to God, then only you are in harmony with God. And it is your duty to do your official job, to earn some money so that you can provide food, clothing, and shelter to your wife, father, kids, or whatever it is. So that is perfectly normal. Even a grahastha, when he's doing it, he can still be a sannyasi. Sannyasi is a person who is detached from the fruit of actions. So that you have to do it well. In a yogi, what happens? All these psychic capabilities, that is buddhi, manasu, and willpower, they all get into harmony. You do your duty efficiently. The doing your duty efficiently itself is a joy, or you do the work just for its joy sake itself. Like many artists and all that, when they produce masterpieces, after they don't care about the work, they get joy in the process itself. So that's how yogi, everything becomes a joy, because he's doing his duty without any selfish motive behind it. Not karma sannyasa, karma phala sannyasa is required. That's why people who are practicing meditation have to study Bhagavad Gita deeply, because it's all yoga. We'll meet next Sunday then.